Episode number 93.
And today we have a very special guest with us. He has climbed Mount Everest once, twice. He went vegan. He's a nutritional coach, and he is India's most famous mountaineer, Kuntal Joisher. Say hello.
Hey, hey,
Yes.
hi. How are you folks doing?
We're doing
Doing
great.
great.
How are you? How is it on your
I'm doing
side?
pretty good, holding up as well as we all can be given the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic which is across the world, but not complaining at all.
That's
That's
good.
true.
All right.
Could you
Alrighty.
let us
So,
know, like, where are you from so the people know?
mhm.
Right. So I live in Mumbai in India.
Oh.
So it's on the west coast of India,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah,
Wow, that's awesome.
it's a very big city. It's about 22 million people in the city, and
Oh, wow.
very densely populated. But yeah, just like
Mhm.
any other city.
Okay. And also, I guess we should let our audience know that us
Oh,
three,
yeah.
are currently in three different countries at the moment. Mario's in Mexico right now.
Yeah.
I'm in Georgia, U.S., and of course, India.
Yeah. So, if there's a little bit of lag, hopefully you'll understand because we are in three different countries.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So I guess leading into the first question that we have for Kuntal here is what really started this journey into mountain climbing? Where did this all begin?
Right. Uh, of course, it didn't start this way because I have zero background in terms of athletics or fitness or mountaineering. I come from a community which is kind of known for its business acumen,
Mhm.
and so most people in my community or in my family naturally expected me to get into some form of a business and become an entrepreneur and kind of have a good career in that sense. And if you look at people in my community, most of them are in some way obese, unhealthy. Even if they have to kind of climb one floor, they would rather take an elevator rather than climb a floor. Forget climbing a hill. Mount Everest is not even in their wildest dreams. So,
Yeah.
so it didn't start off with me like that, and no genetic disposition as well in that sense. Um, I think it was completely by sheer coincidence that I stumbled onto probably one of the biggest dreams of my life and something that
Mhm.
completely turned around the direction of my life. It was on a chance vacation that I took with with my wife in a small Himalayan village in the Indian Himalaya, and it was just a tourist trip. Like my wife had never seen snow in her entire life, and for me, it had almost been about 25 years since I'd seen snow. So it was like,
Oh,
we were these
wow.
kids who wanted to see some snow and play in some snow, and we ended up getting to this Himalayan village to see snow, and that's where I kind of fell in love with the mountains. And in some sense, the direction of my life changed. And again, I didn't want to climb Everest or anything, but I think a lot of it was more about just achieving a certain state of the mind.
Mhm.
I did
Mm.
a small hiking trip, and when I got to the top of the mountain, that's when I kind of, for the first time in my life, truly felt this deep happiness.
Oh,
I truly felt
wow.
alive in some sense.
Uh-huh.
And it's like for the first time in my life, I could exist in the microsecond of that moment rather than always in this mindset of planning for the future that I had never
Mhm.
seen
Wow.
or
Mhm.
pondering over the mistakes of past that's already gone by. Like, like what are you going to do about two things that are not even in under your control?
Hmm.
But that's
Mhm.
what you're kind of controlling all the time. But then first time during that trip, I was able to let go of that control and kind of
Mm.
achieve the state of mind which a lot of people would probably do drugs for and or
Hmm.
Oh,
psychedelics
wow.
for.
That's
Yeah.
And
true.
but achieving that state without use of psychedelics, I thought, man, this is amazing. If you have to
Mm.
get addicted to something, I think this would be a cool thing to get addicted to.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Getting fit, climbing mountains, achieving the state of mind, and almost meditative kind of a state of mind. So
Hmm.
it was all about chasing a certain state of mind rather than, hey, I want to climb Mount Everest. Of course,
Mm.
eventually along the journey, it got to a point where I visited the Everest base camp. I saw Everest. I kind of fell
Mhm.
in love with Everest. I thought from a symbolic point of view, it was a great thing to and kind
Mhm.
of go on to
Yeah, no,
kind
that
of
right
the
there is
journey that I went
amazing.
on.
And when you mentioned about being in the present moment, in the microsecond moment, that right there is so powerful to
Yeah,
me because I feel
that
like
right.
that is one of the essence of spirituality is, we want to take ourselves out of the future, out of the past, and really just focus on what we have right now, which is the present. So I guess this leads me on to my next question, and it's are you religious or spiritual at all, and how does that add to your life?
Mhm. Oh, that's a good one.
So yeah, I'm neither religious and I'm
Mm,
neither spiritual.
mm,
Oh, okay.
Not spiritual in the sense that I believe in spirit or I believe in soul or I believe in something like that,
Mhm.
but maybe spiritual from a perspective that I look at nature or I look at mountains or I look at forests or I just look at these things that nature is mountains or it's I'm not kind of going to say that nature is divine or nature is god for me or all of that and kind of give it that that concept that it is god, that it is something
mm,
overarching. Nature just is. It's not,
mm,
it doesn't have any human qualities. It's not out there to take revenge on you. It's not out there to kind of judge you. It's not
Mhm.
out there to kind of kill you, like people a lot of times say Everest kills, and even I say that Everest kills and Everest does not forgive mistakes. I'm saying it from a very different mindset though,
Mhm.
kind of to just sensitize people that they need to be ready and those things. But from a from how I perceive mountains or how I perceive life or how I perceive a lot of these things, I don't attach them, I don't give them any religious significance, or I don't kind of give them this overarching concept of god, that there is something
mm,
superior than us.
Mhm.
Because if there's something
mm,
superior than us, then we also get into concepts of there's something inferior than us, and then
Oh.
it's just a mess
mm,
beyond that point.
Mhm.
And on the other hand, the skeptic in me, the scientific, the evidence based person in me will also kind of always question there's no evidence. And
mm,
I'm not someone who's just going to blindly believe in something. So in
mm,
that sense, I like to keep my life a little uncomplicated, a lot more simple. And I started off as an overly religious person, who was a firm believer in god. But I, over a period of time, realized that not having a god in my life made my life a lot more simple, made a life
Oh,
more
wow.
uncomplicated. And it just,
mm,
not having that person who's all the time listening to my prayers or judging me or doing
mm,
like, oh, you're masturbating, I'm seeing you, like this is
mm,
shit. I am there. If you're going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to
mm,
Mhm.
sure, that is probably, humans have given that attached, probably that mindset, that's how god is. But look,
mm,
I am someone who didn't need that entity in my life. My
Yes.
life is a lot more simple without that entity. So in some sense, I'm not religious. I don't believe in that god. And neither
mm,
eventually over a period of time I got to the point where I don't believe in god as well, because I just like to think this is as is, universe is. And I'm just grateful, and I'm just privileged, to
Mhm.
be
mm,
here to kind of witness all this. I mean,
mm,
imagine 14 billion light years. That's how gigantic our universe is, or that's how we
Yeah.
perceive it. Who knows how big it is? And in that,
mm,
billions and billions and billions and billions of planets and stars and galaxies and everything. And there's just life
mm,
potentially on one.
mm.
And I think I'm just
Im
sheerly lucky to witness it, and
That's
that's all I
true.
need. I
Oh.
don't need
Yeah.
any entity. I don't need any religious text. I don't need
Mm,
anything to kind of to be grateful about this thing, and
mm.
to become a good human, to become an ethical human, to become a just human as much as I can. I
Yeah.
don't need anything else to drive that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
I guess that can really change someone's mindset going into very like adversing things that can like lead into, like you say, you speak a lot about getting close to death and doing climbs. Like, has this peace with the idea of death like helped you or changed your perspective on how you continue life?
Uh, so when I first decided to climb Everest,
Mhm.
and I started doing some research about it, I quickly realized that yes, death is a reality, and
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
we keep hearing about so many people dying on Everest and all of these things. So that was always there at the back of my mind. But I thought, what? I just like any maybe newbie person or just like any mountaineer or just like a young guy, I thought
Uh-huh.
I'm invincible in some sense.
Mm.
Nothing's going to
Oh,
happen to me.
yeah.
Like how can anything go wrong? I'm just going to train hard. I'm going to do everything the best I can. Nothing can happen to me. I kind of went into the mountains with that attitude, and then this is the stuff that you learn on the mountains, and something that I tell a lot of people to just be open minded about a lot
Mhm.
of these experiences. I think for me, I got a big cake on my ass, like big time. Like I remember doing my mountaineering course in Chile, in
Mhm.
the northern ice cap of Chile,
Oh, wow.
and I was so underprepared. I was
Mhm.
so underprepared, and
Mhm.
then there were times when I would count in a day. At the end of the day, sitting in the tent, oh, may I, just escaped death 10 times today. I
Oh my
escaped death
gosh.
like 6 times today. And
Oh,
then
wow.
I was counting days and days, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to run out of my luck. At some point, I'm going to break a lot of bones. At some point, potentially, I'm going to die. This is it. This is, kind of time to back off and go home.
Mm.
I remember crying that whole night. Next morning,
Oh,
going to my expedition leader and telling her, hey, Jaya, you know what? I totally underestimated the course. But more than
mhm.
that, I totally underestimated the mountains,
Mm.
totally disrespected the mountains in some sense,
Oh, yeah, it humbles you, you
Mm.
overestimated
could
my
say.
abilities big time,
Mhm.
and kind of I need to go home. I need to go home. I
Mm.
need to train harder. I need to come back harder. And something that has been my attitude for the last many years is that you train really hard, respect the mountains in the sense,
Mhm.
again, I don't want to attach human qualities or any certain qualities to the mountains, but just
Mm.
kind of be cognizant of the challenge in front of you and then
Mhm.
go
Mhm.
prepared.
Mm.
But I also do want to share a small story. This was from 2015,
Mm.
and there were two stories from 2015. The very first time walked through a region called the Khumbu Icefall. This is on Everest, and this is one of the most treacherous areas.
Mm.
Imagine, a small city in Mexico.
Mhm.
Imagine this entire city is made up of snow and ice. Now, take the entire city and tilt it at an angle of about 35 degrees.
Mm.
Make it such that the whole city moves down about 2 to 3 feet every day. And
Oh,
there are
wow.
all these big, buildings and, houses of snow and ice. They can crash and fall down anytime.
Oh
And
my
that you
Oh my
have to
gosh.
kind of cross this 2 to 3 kilometer long section to reach
Mhm.
the next camp. That is what Khumbu Icefall is. And
Mhm.
that
Wow.
every climber has to cross this many times while climbing Everest. And I still
Mm.
remember first time ever in my life going through this section, not knowing when I could die the next time. Because in next step, there's a big block of ice that could fall on you, the size of a car, the size of a building, and just kill you at any instant.
Oh, wow.
I think for
Wow.
me, it kind of was the first time in my life after the 2009 incident
Mhm.
where I actually just let go of my control. I surrendered myself to the mountains. Doesn't
Mm.
mean that I kept my brain aside and I started walking. Still
Mm.
means that I
Mhm.
used all my skill. Still means that I used all my situational awareness, all my experience, that in case something happened and then there would be chance to survive or save myself, I would still do that.
Mhm.
Mm.
But at the same time, I just said, you know what? I can't control my destiny, or I can't control whether I'm going to be alive or that
Oh.
whether I'm going to die. And that this
Mm.
control that I'm holding on to for a
Mhm.
very long time, this control just needs to go, because that is not
Mm.
liberating me in my mind. That is not allowing me to focus and enjoy this climb. That this needs to go. And during those 12 hours, for the first time, I was just let go of that control over my own life. And I'm like, this is it. And I felt so liberated. I mean, it was probably one of the most kind of a revelation moments for me in my life. Um, and kind of 2 weeks later, when one of the largest earthquakes to hit Nepal in a century happened,
Mm.
and that caused a gigantic avalanche to rip through the base camp. I still remember I was
Wow.
bang in middle of the base camp, and kind of the avalanche in front of me,
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
left of the sky to the right of the sky, the entire sky was filled with just snow and ice, as if a
Oh my.
tsunami of snow and ice was in front of us, 3 seconds away from us.
Hmm.
And in that moment, I didn't think that I was going to die. I was actually 100% certain that I was going to die. So while I kind of, don't believe in God or anything, I still said my prayers. I'm like, I'm done. This is it. I had great 35 years of existence,
Oh
and
my
I did what
God.
I could. I put in my best effort, but this is it. This is how it's going to end.
Uh-huh.
And to then survive a short death, I think that definitely changed the perspective of life for me, because since that day, every second that I have actually lived has been a bonus in some sense,
Oh, wow. That's
and it has been a second chance
uh-huh.
truly in some sense. So now I see life as something where I'm like, look, not many people get a second chance. And now that I've gotten a second chance, I
True.
can't be, in some sense, wasting it away.
Mhm.
I,
Mhm.
given that I lead a very privileged life, most of us do lead a privileged life. If we are sitting here on a Zoom call talking to each
Yeah,
other,
very privileged.
we're not worried about
Mhm.
food on our
Yep.
table, or roofs on our head. Millions of peoples across the world have that problem. We don't have that problem. So in that sense, we are all
Mhm.
leading very privileged lives.
Mhm.
And if we are still kind of, just, I would not say wasting away. I'm no one to judge anyone else's life or what their situation is. But at least in my own perspective, in my own context, I thought, if I am just, sitting and not pursuing my dreams, not doing what I really love,
Yes,
I think it
Mhm.
is like an insult to the second chance that I've gotten. So
I agree.
that's how
Mhm.
kind of I
I
thought
agree
about it.
so much.
And I'm just, all I have is just gratitude that I'm
Mhm.
alive
Yeah.
and that I get to lead this life. Just as simple as that.
Mhm. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I feel like
that's
that
awesome. Love that perspective
really.
right there. Because at the end of the day, if you're not grateful for what you have, like, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It's a little bit of a
I
delay
think
on my
his
end,
frame is frozen.
so I'm not
Yes, it did
sure.
freeze up for a second.
Yeah, it did freeze for a second. I don't know if y'all can
Mhm.
hear me well or not, but basically what I was saying is that that really hits home
Yes.
with me, and I know it really hits home with our message that we want to give out to people, that, if you're on Instagram
Mhm.
scrolling, you have privilege, you have the opportunity to, you've been blessed with so much opportunity to continue to strive and push for, what you love to do. And some people are afraid to because of, society, or because of their friends or their family or their mom and their dad. And, you know, at the end of the day, you really aren't living your own life. You're living your life for someone else. And that really does make me a little bit of like some sadness comes to me, because I can see them striving and continuing to push for whatever they love to do and completing it, because you have so much opportunity. And it really is up to us. And I guess that really is our whole movement, and really trying to show people,
Mhm.
this really is one life, and please live it for yourself and continue to be grateful,
Mhm.
because that's huge. Gratitude, the
Mhm.
attitude of
Yep.
gratitude will always surpass any feeling of doubt, any feeling of just anger, anything. Gratitude is, wow, I agree so much.
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Sorry, there's a bit of a
Yes,
delay
yes,
here. Yes.
Okay,
we
Yes.
can hear
Sorry.
you.
It's
sorry.
just
Yeah, it freezes and then it loads and then it goes
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. That's all
yeah,
right.
but I know
So
that,
I guess.
oh, you go ahead if you want. Sorry,
Oh,
delay
okay.
on
Well,
this
my bad.
end.
It's because this delay, man. This delay. Okay. So basically, what I wanted to ask now is with these stories, it's kind of hard for me and maybe some of the audience to try and imagine how treacherous Mount Everest is. And so I guess could you give us some maybe some statistics, facts, or even personal experience
Mm-hmm.
on how serious Mount Everest is?
Yes,
So
please.
kind of just going to break down a few points. Mount Everest is at 29,000 feet. The next time you take a plane and the plane goes at cruise altitude where the captain announces now you can remove your seat belts.
Mm.
I think that height is
Oh
Everest
wow.
physically at, and that's where kind of we physically climbed it, not
Oh,
inside an airplane.
oh wow.
The temperatures are, of course, there's too much wind, it's too cold. Yes, all of those things are there. It takes
Hmm.
about 60 days to climb this mountain, so it's not like you just show up
Wow.
at the base camp and you climb to the top and you get down, go home. It's climbed in multiple stages. You have to let
Hmm.
your bodies adjust to the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think about 300, maybe 350 odd people have
Wow.
died climbing the mountain in the last few years. So, not a lot of deaths, I would say, but thousands of people have gotten injured. They have
Mm-hmm.
lost their fingers, they have lost their toes, they've gotten brain infections, they've gotten
Mm.
lung
Oh
infections, they have
wow.
gotten all sorts of trouble. And I think probably for me, starting out from a place where I had zero background about mountaineering or zero background about fitness or zero background about anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
I think one line that hit really hard for me was my expedition leader's words. I still remember in that October 2010 expedition where I was visiting the base camp and I kind of fell in love with the base camp.
Mm-hmm.
I remember walking into the dining tent that evening,
Mm.
and on the right hand side of the dining tent there was this big wall, and then this big wall had a lot of pictures of dead climbers with hands amputated and feet
Oh.
amputated, and big holes in their cheeks, and terrible
Mm.
accidents. And I saw all these photos, and I like, my expedition leader's name was Tim, a Canadian guide. His name is Tim Rappel. So I like turned to Tim and I'm like, hey Tim, do you want us to climb Everest? Like, this doesn't seem like a great marketing strategy in
Yeah.
some way. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
it's almost like you're trying to scare us off and, like, say, just go home. And so Tim,
Hmm.
said, Kuntal, to climb to the top of the world, you need a top of the world mind and you need a top of the world body. And if you are going to make any mistake, unfortunately, I will have to put your photo also on this wall. And I
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
really, really don't want you to be on this wall. So
Oh
that
wow.
kind of really hit me hard. And I realized, man, this is not like something that I can just, think and now and, maybe train for 6 months and go climb that mountain. And
Mm-hmm.
I trained for about 5 years before getting to the top, and I continue to train all the time. Most good mountaineers train really, really hard, but again,
Hmm.
for example, I'll kind of, share with you my summit night on the top of
Hmm.
Everest.
Yeah.
We had climbed for about 50 days, and this was one of our last days when we were going to reach the top. We were at 26,000 feet. This is also called Camp 4 or South Col on the Nepal side of the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It is so cold here that it's called that you are on borrowed time, because you are in a zone which is known as the death zone. About
Oh wow.
26,000 feet is a zone called the death zone. And a lot of research has shown that human beings cannot adjust or acclimatize inside this zone, which means that they are closer to their death rather than to their life. So you literally
Oh
Wow.
my
sneak into this
goodness.
zone, spend a few hours, get to the top, get back down, and get the heck out of this zone as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because 150 dead bodies inside this zone itself. You don't want to add to that number. You want to
Oh
come
Mm.
back, alive to your family.
wow.
So
Mm.
I remember being here, and one by one, all our team members left. I was the expedition team leader, the official expedition team leader, and my Sherpa guide, his name is Mingma Tenzi Sherpa. He was the expedition big boss. And generally, from at least my attitude of leadership has always been that leaders always first ensure that the team is taken care of, and then they kind of
Mm-hmm.
always leave the last. A lot of people will say you lead from the front, but I kind of think, it a
Mm.
little differently in different context. So after my entire team had left, they were all well fed with individual guides. Me and Mingma started walking, but Mingma quickly pointed out one problem: we don't have any water. And I'm like,
Mm.
Mingma, without
Oh
water
my
between the two
gosh.
of us, we are not going to survive a night of about 20 hours worth of walking, burning close to 15,000 calories.
Mm.
15,000 calories for any normal
15,000.
person is about seven
Whoa.
days worth of food that you have to eat, and that will burn in just
Yeah.
20 hours round
Mm-hmm.
trip. So
Oh my
I'm like,
gosh.
Mingma, we are not going to survive even without a liter of water. Just to make 1 liter of water, we had to dig ice. We had to dig snow in minus 30 degrees Celsius at 26,000 feet, where there's 30% oxygen from sea level.
Wow.
And it took about 45 minutes to just create half a liter of icy cold water. And that half liter of icy cold water, just so that it did not turn into ice, we put it into like two thick socks, put it inside our bags, and we started walking. Facing at that altitudes,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
and while this is not something I'm always happy about, but I mean, living in big cities, we are really kind of accustomed to running into traffic jams when we are driving on the streets and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But there are
Mm-hmm.
traffic jams that even happen on Everest, and these traffic jams can actually kill you.
Oh wow, yeah.
I
What?
got stuck in a traffic jam of 4 hours where I was stuck behind a long line of about 50 climbers who were walking really slow. And imagine you are
Mm.
stuck behind this, train of climbers that are really slow. You have a certain amount of oxygen, you have a certain amount of pace that you want to keep, and then
Mm-hmm.
you are just
Mm.
wasting away oxygen waiting behind them. So many
Mm.
miscalculations happening. Anything, even if it goes off by like even just slight, it means you could
Mm.
die or you could get into some serious trouble on this mountain. So luckily we were able to kind of overtake a lot of these people, deploy certain different strategies to kind of get across them, finally making it to the top after 12 hours of climbing. But again, it's just crazy experience all over in
Mm.
so many expeditions, so many failures, so many successes. Just overall
Mm-hmm.
journey is what I'm in love with.
Yeah.
Everyone loves getting on the top. Look, who doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
When you achieve the biggest dream of your life, who doesn't love it? Everyone loves it.
Yeah.
But I think very few people actually fall in love with the process, and very few people actually love the process and are willing to repeat it over and over again. But anyway, don't
Mm-hmm.
want to digress too much, but that's
Mm-hmm.
some a little bit about Everest.
No,
Wow.
yeah, that right there is just it's an insane journey, honestly. And I guess I'm also curious about how do you train for something
Mm-hmm.
this insane? Like how like what does a training regimen look like, both in terms of physical, mental, the diet, like where do you start with all this and how has this journey where did this journey in the training start?
Yes.
For me, it started somewhere around October of 2010 when I kind of made up my mind that I have to climb Everest. And before that, I was
Mm,
climbing in the mountains and I was doing a whole bunch of small hikes here and there to kind of keep myself fit.
mm,
But October 2010 is when I was like, got really serious about this. I want to climb to the top and I'm going to put in a plan in place. I'm going to follow that plan. I'm going to show up day in, day out. But to quickly break down the physical fitness bit,
mm,
for me, it was divided into three aspects, one being cardiovascular
mm,
endurance, second being ensuring that there was enough kind of strength training, or I would say ensuring that there's enough muscle on my body, that it's not
Mm-hmm.
in any negative way impacting my journey. Like if I have less muscle, then chances of getting injured are higher. If I have more muscle, then I have slightly opposite problem, because muscle requires a lot of oxygen to
mm,
kind of sustain and work, and there's lack of oxygen on the mountain. So kind of a good
mm,
balance in terms of strength training, and then also working a bit more on my conditioning in terms of my heart conditioning and all of those things. Cardiovascular training, typically what I tell people is do what you really enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
A
mm,
lot of people do things that they generally just don't enjoy doing, and that is okay if, let's say, you don't have access. I have access to great mountains where I live, so
mm,
I have access to going and hiking as my primary activity in terms of building cardiovascular endurance. But someone may be living near sea and not have any mountains, and may just not have a opportunity to go and hike, but they
mm,
still need to build the fitness. So So then they need to do a certain activity that they may not enjoy doing, but then they need to do that. You just need to figure out what you enjoy the best and then do it, because that's what's going to be sustainable longer term. Something that I tell repeatedly to everyone, that do things only that are sustainable for the rest of your life. Don't, fall into these fads or things that you're never going to kind of do it after 2 years or 3 years. Something that you
Oh,
can do it for
that's
the
a good
rest of your life.
mentality.
Yeah.
In diet, in exercise, in anything, any other thing is in life. So that's kind of one of my mindsets. And again, there's no magic trick here.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're asking me what a magic trick is or what that magic pill is, it is consistency,
Consistent.
discipline,
Oh,
showing up day in, day out, not for just days, weeks, or months, but for multiple years, and in most cases, decades.
oh
If you
wow.
can do that, if you just, don't get injured, which will help you stay consistent and disciplined, and then if you stay patient, you will see the results. Most people simply are not patient enough. They can't they can't fathom their life in decades. Like when I explain to someone, imagine you are just going to the gym as a newbie. And I'm going to take a very simple example of a movement called the deadlift. Imagine if you can deadlift 30 kgs today, which is very, very simple. Most good fit people should be able to deadlift that much very easily.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine if you have 1 year on your hand. 1 year has 52 weeks. If you are going to just deadlift 50 sessions a year, that is one session a week. And every session, if you can just improve by 2 kilos, that's it. I'm saying 2 kilos. That is 5 pounds. 5 pounds improvements a single session.
Mm-hmm.
That is 200 pounds by the end of year. That
Oh
means you
wow.
literally went from deadlifting 30 kilos to 130 kilos at the end of the year. Now look at this in terms of decades. Of course, the progress is not going to be this linear, right? That's not how it works. As you get more and more advanced, your progress may kind of, become slower and slower. But imagine if you did this for 10 years, and even if you just gain 20 kgs a year, 10 into 20 is 200
Mm-hmm.
kgs on your deadlift. That is, you went from 130 kg deadlift to 330 kg deadlift. That is literally an elite deadlifter on the planet. You could
Mm-hmm.
literally be winning medals in big competitions. But
Yep.
most people simply cannot fathom 10 years worth of effort. They just can't see that long. They all of them want quick solutions. Oh, but I saw on the internet that video of abs in 22 days. I'm like, you can't get abs in 22 days. That's not how it works. It is a long term effort. There is dedicated effort that you have to put in. There is consistent discipline and patience. These three things, in my opinion, are and so again, it same applies to even climbing Everest. If you're
Mm-hmm.
consistent and disciplined long enough and stay injury free, you will build physical fitness. Even if you have the shittiest program on the planet, the shittiest physical fitness program on the planet, heck, if you do it for 10 years, you will build fitness. I can guarantee that to you. Yes, of course, a smartly designed physical fitness program will probably get you that level of fitness in 3-4 years. But even a shitty program will give you fitness. It's just people are just looking for that next great program, that next great supplement, that
Oh.
next great, magic bullet. They are
Yeah.
missing the fact that consistency and discipline is the magic bullet, and that's going to get you there anyway, where you want to get. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of, that is the mentality that I used. And with diet, I am a vegan. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat any animal products, or I don't wear any animal products or animal byproducts in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And while veganism is not a dietary choice for me veganism is an ethical
Lifestyle.
choice. And so dietary choice is just a kind of a consequence to my ethical choice. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm a vegan by diet. I'm not a vegan by diet. If I was not climbing Everest, I would just be happy eating whatever vegan food was available, and I would not be complaining that it's not nutritious. It has this problem, it has that problem. No, it's an ethical choice. I'm just, going to be a vegan, from every aspect as much as I can. So, in terms of diet, I would say that I thought that it's going to be tricky because a lot of people in the mountaineering community had a lot of pushback when I said that I want to climb Everest as a vegan. They said it has never been done before.
Never been
Oh
done.
And
wow.
that initially put me under some sort of self doubts. Man, if like
Mhm.
10, 15, 20 people, some of the authorities in the mountaineering world are saying that it can't be done, maybe there's some
Hmm.
truth to it. But then I'm also someone who kind of comes from this mindset that, you know what, I'm going to try anyway.
Mhm.
If
Yep.
it
Mhm.
doesn't work, then I don't need to do this. I can find another dream which can be done and I will do it. And I can say one thing for sure is that in the last 10 years, vegan diet has been the least of my problems.
Mm.
Least of my
Mhm.
problems. It's like if I have to, create like a list of 100 problems that, like had, me thinking or, scratching my head on Everest, veganism would not even be 101st problem. So
Wow.
it
Mm.
was, that level of, like no one had done it and people thought it can't be done.
Mm.
Imagine a guy like me who has no athletic background, who has no genetic disposition, heck, who actually is genetically in a worse situation because my 1,000 years of my ancestry comes from people who have been obese and unhealthy. Suddenly,
Mm.
I'm, standing up and saying, hey, I'm going to do the
Yep.
most opposite thing on the planet.
Mhm.
So again, all odds stacked against me, and
Mhm.
yet I am able to climb Everest not just once but
Yep.
twice on a vegan diet. Yes, it
Twice.
had to be a well planned, well researched,
Yes,
well
yes.
balanced vegan diet. I did train, I did everything I could, I worked hard, I did every of those things. But
Mhm.
what I'm trying to say here is if
Mm.
I can do it, every human on this planet can achieve the biggest dreams of their life without having to wear or eat any
Mm.
animal. I am
Agreed.
100%
Yep.
convinced of that,
Mhm.
including winning an Olympic gold medal or becoming an elite power lifter or doing anything in
Mm.
the world. Because I'm just extrapolating, right? If me without genetic gift can do this,
Mhm.
then imagine a person who can win an Olympic medal with that level of genetic gift. They
Mm.
can definitely win that medal without eating or harming or exploiting animals.
Wow.
I'm 100% convinced about this. You have to be
Mhm.
smart about it. You have to design your diet. You have to ensure that you understand the limitations and that you work around that you take those into account and not be too dogmatic about it. Like a lot of vegans, overall bigger vegan community, I also see that there's a lot of dogma around,
Mm.
hey, just eat plants, just eat whatever, just eat vegan junk food and you will, climb to the top of Everest. No, it doesn't work that way. That's
Mhm.
not how,
Mhm.
it is. So I
Mhm.
think kind of, moving beyond the dogma, working and properly planning and executing the diet,
Mm.
not very, very difficult, very, very, doable. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Mhm.
And then putting in the hard work in terms of training and experience and building that base and getting to the top of your
Mhm.
dreams, very doable.
Yep.
You just need to put in the
Wow.
effort.
Wow. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that as well. Because we are fellow vegans as well, so we're on this
Mhm.
movement. We we've done our research, and we try to push it as much as we can to these people, so they can start to understand it because we agree so much with the movement, and I guess
Mhm.
that could lead into just how long have you been vegan, and at what point did you decide it to be vegan?
So I've now been a vegan for 19 years, and
Mm.
having been born and brought up in a vegetarian family, I was always exposed
Mhm.
to the
Mhm.
compassion angle in terms of animal rights. Because I remember
Mhm.
asking my parents when I was a kid, why don't we eat any eggs or why don't we eat any meat? Like I have seen some of my friends do that, but why don't we do that? And
Mhm.
I
Ooh.
remember my parents explaining,
Mhm.
in India, you have cows walking all over everywhere. Dogs clear it. You can just see them wherever you want to. So I
Mhm.
remember my mom pointing out to a
Yeah.
cow passing by with her small calf. And my mom said, look, they are a family. They feel pain, they feel sadness, they feel joy, they feel love, they feel every emotion that we as humans feel.
Mhm.
While we
Mhm.
may think that we are a little smarter than them, but other than that kind of angle that we think that we are smarter than them, in every sense kind of we have the same emotions that we feel. And if we are not eating other human families or if we are not killing other human families, then why would we kill other animal families and eat them and consume them? So that is the kind of mindset I grew up with. And then I shifted
Mhm.
to Los Angeles to pursue my master's degree. and I was living there, and one of my roommates who
Mhm.
was an ethical vegetarian.
Oh.
Today I feel ethical vegetarian is an oxymoron, because you can't be ethical and still a vegetarian. It just does not kind of gel really well.
I agree.
But he kind of pointed out to my consumption of eggs. Like, let's say I would eat a Snickers bar, and it had egg whites in them. Or for example, I would wear a leather belt or a leather jacket, and he would say, why are you wearing leather belt and leather jacket? And I'm like, what's the problem in a Snickers bar or a jacket, or eating an ice cream with eggs in them? And he's like, here here is some PETA videos of the cruelty in the dairy industry, cruelty in the egg industry, cruelty in the
Mhm.
leather industry. And as I started doing the research, I kind of connected the dots that there is really no difference between a piece of meat, a glass of milk, a block of cheese, or for that
Mm,
matter, eggs, or for that matter, leather, or for that matter, down, or for that matter, wool, or anything that comes from an animal. And it is all
mm,
the same. At the end of the day, it all comes from abused, slaughtered, and exploited animals.
mm,
And it was such a shock to me, because as a vegetarian and someone who thought of himself as a compassionate person, I suddenly couldn't reconcile between the fact that my compassionate thoughts are completely in disconnection with my cruel actions as a vegetarian.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I'm
mm,
like, man, this has to change. And I did some research, and I realized that right away, what I can do is, from a personal standpoint, is that I can go vegan. That is,
mm,
I control what goes in my mouth and what goes on my body. These two
mm,
things are 100% under my control. And as a privileged person, I can most definitely control this. I'm not
yeah,
talking about, an Eskimo living somewhere in northern Canada in minus 60 degrees Celsius and not having access to any food, and they are
Mm.
potentially
mm,
hunting and, subsisting in those kind of, regions. I'm not talking
yeah,
about that. I'm talking about a person who's living in the city, is doing a good job, is making good money, has money in the bank to afford, and it's still not,
mm,
cheap, costlier things. It's still just, affording vegetables, fruits, and basic things that can kind of keep you going.
yeah,
And I thought, man, these two things I control, and I am going to control, and I am going to be a vegan from today. And it
mm,
was like, in the night I decided I'll be a vegan. From the next morning I was a vegan. I remember
mm,
kind of going through my
Uh-huh.
entire pantry, going through every entire wardrobe, and every non-vegan thing I collected, I put it into a shopping basket. And I lived in Santa Monica, and there was a community center near my place. So I just went and
mm,
I kind of donated everything to. I said, look, I don't want this to go waste. I don't want to trash this. You can take whatever you
mm,
want. And from that on moment onwards, I was a vegan. While I could have used all of these things to the end of life,
mm,
I kind of thought, this is one a very big decision of my life in some sense. So I want to kind of start afresh with veganism started. and
yeah,
and I still think connecting the dots and becoming empathetic with the vegan cause or with the animals
Mhm.
allowed me to look back into me and fix a lot of other problems or a lot of other mindset issues that I had, or a lot of other toxic thinking that I
mm,
had, in terms of probably sexism, or in terms of phobia around LGBTQ, or in
mm,
terms of things like casteism, or a whole bunch of things that
mm,
I really had never addressed as a human being. But all
mm,
this kind of, and I'm not saying any of this happened overnight. It took a long
mm,
time. I had to
yeah,
go on a journey, because I kind of looked at this in some sense of an oppression of an entire species. I was kind of able to connect it to what other oppressive
Mhm.
mindsets were there
Mhm.
within me, and then work
mm,
on each one of them slow and steadily. And kind of, I think
mm,
at the end of the day, we all kind of aspire to be better versions of ourselves, and to kind of become just better human beings, more just human beings, more ethical human beings. That's always the aspiration, but we are always
Mhm.
yeah,
all a work in progress. So that was
yeah,
kind of
Definitely.
really, like a great 7 8 year introspection phase, where I went on an unlearning and then a relearning journey, and reversing a
mm,
lot of toxic shit in my life. Believe me,
mm,
in some ways, when people, I tell people that veganism changed my life, and they always like, how can eating a broccoli change your life? And I'm like, kind of you are connecting veganism to eating broccoli. I think it is a lot deeper than that in some
Yeah,
sense.
Yeah.
definitely.
So I think for me, veganism did change my life. It
Mhm.
probably has been the single biggest event that like has given a
Mhm.
direction to my life in terms. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was
Mhm.
my vegan journey.
No,
Wow.
yeah, that's amazing. And the way you speak on veganism and everything, I aspire to be that way. I want to, seeing your posts and everything on Instagram, I
Mhm.
now aspire to be more vocal about it and just share this movement because it really is a movement of, like you said, it's not only reducing harm, but
Yeah.
it's interconnected to a lot of the systematic beliefs that we have based around certain communities or people. So it's definitely a huge part of what we want to push out there.
Yeah. No,
And I know, yeah,
no, no,
sorry,
no. I
what?
was gonna say, yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
Especially, I remember when we first went vegan and how passionate I was
yeah.
about how speaking out and really wanting to educate people because that's really what the baseline is. People they just don't know, and people they're not aware, and we do want to be that voice to educate people to make them want to slowly plant seeds in their mind. Maybe they individually go and do research on their own. So I don't know if you have any podcast, any documentaries, any like YouTube videos, books that you would recommend to someone that's interested and like things they should do once
Mhm,
first integrating into the veganism diet or lifestyle, I would say. It is a
yeah.
Uh,
lifestyle.
I think in terms of if you want to kind of read a book, I just recently read a book called Think Like a Vegan.
Mm,
It's a
Mhm,
book by a friend called Emmy. It's
mhm,
available across the world now. You can purchase it. I think probably one of those books which is very non-judgmental
mhm,
and
mhm,
gives a very balanced and a very nuanced perspective of veganism and a lot of complicated topics around veganism, because kind of some people just boil down veganism to diet, or some people just boil down veganism to social justice, or so many
mhm,
specific things. But this is kind of taking a much broader perspective around veganism
mhm,
and making us think in terms of there were so many things that I never even thought about as a vegan, about
mhm,
its
mhm,
connections to so many kind of movements. I would suggest anyone wanting a new vegan, a long-term vegan, even like a vegan who's maybe questioning their veganism or anything, just go kind of read this book. I think it's a pretty good book. And in
mhm,
terms of podcasts, frankly speaking, I haven't really followed a lot of vegan podcasts, but I
mhm,
know that
mhm,
there is a podcast called the Plant Proof Podcast. I
mhm,
don't know if you follow this. It's a very science and
science
evidence-based
based.
podcast around vegan
Oh,
nutrition.
I love that.
So
mhm,
you could potentially kind of, if someone is really interested in scientific information, like there's so many myths around veganism, like soy is bad for you, and a whole bunch of things that protein myths, or things like you can't get enough micronutrition from the diet and those kind of things. So
Mhm,
mhm,
lot of myth busting in these podcasts. But I would kind of think, as long as you are eating a generally balanced diet where you are not
mhm,
unnecessarily cutting out any food group, and I do not
mhm,
consider animals a food group. So a lot of people
mhm,
question, tell me that, hey, as a nutrition coach, you recommend that no one cut out food groups. But I'm like, but animals are not food groups. Insects are
mhm,
mhm.
not food groups. You can't be,
Yep.
thinking of animals as food groups or
yes.
insects as food group. They are, like that sentient beings.
Mhm,
So,
Mhm,
yes, they are.
kind of in that sense, just within the vegan world, don't exclude any foods. Eat a balanced diet.
mhm,
Balance it out with some junk food here and there, so that you can still, kind of be
Enjoy.
able to kind of, just be, yeah, enjoy and be a normal part of the society, and like,
yeah,
not just overly, get into disordered eating behavior. Just eat
Mhm,
yeah,
regular, normal vegan diet, eat a healthy vegan diet, and you'll be fine. You won't have to overthink any of this.
that's
mhm,
true. When it comes to like you and clients and people that you want to coach, how do you go into helping them? Like, what's the mentality you try to do when you help a new client?
Uh, Look, my biggest thing for the new clients is something where most of them come to me, hey, I want to lose weight, hey, I
Mhm.
want to look great, hey, I want to kind of lead a quality life, I want to become healthier, I want to become fitter. Most of the times that are always their goals. And my help, because as I am a nutrition coach, so
Mhm.
I look at their existing diets, I look at their existing life,
Mhm.
and my idea for them is always to teach them healthier habits over a period of time. It's like, a lot of times they come with the mindset that I have to diet, that I'm going to diet for 6 months, then I'm going to get leaner, I'm going to get that beach body, and then after that I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And
Mhm.
that's how they're always thinking, and my mindset is that no, you are not on a diet, you are going to be eating a certain way, and at the end of this program maybe you're just going to eat a little more of that. That's
Mhm.
about it. You have to figure out
Mhm.
a sustainable lifestyle that you can kind of stick to for the rest of your life, and kind
Yep.
of get them away from this mindset of good and bad foods, because the world is filled with advice, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. And the moment you eat something bad, you feel guilty about it. Oh, I am so guilty, I ate a donut now, what? Oh man, this like they are so much overthinking. They're in this vicious cycle. No, tomorrow I'm going to do a 4-hour workout to burn this donut. And they do that 4-hour workout, and they are so like feeling like shit that they ate 2 donuts. And then they just get into this vicious cycle of next day 6-hour workout, 3 donuts, 8-hour workouts, and then they burn out and they never diet again in their life. And it's just too much disordered eating, too much complicating their lives. And my idea always to them is simplify your life, focus on just eating a balanced diet, focus
Mhm.
on eating portion controlled sizes according to what your energy needs are. Sleep well, exercise well, stay active through the day,
Yep.
stay hydrated. Simple fundamental things, get
Mhm.
them in order, you will see great progress. And every single client of mine who has actually been able to put their life on order has seen results. And everyone who is in like trying out the shorter hacks is struggling. And something that I repeatedly kind of coach them with is that think about it not in this, hey, I have engaged services of Kuntal for 6 months, I'm going to be so motivated for these 6 months because I paid all this money, that now I'm going to go and do all this stuff. And I'm like, no, what about
Mhm.
after 6 months? If you
Yeah.
lose 10 kilos, you'll gain back all the 10 kilos in 3 months then. It can't be this.
True.
So too many people depend on motivation, and my idea is motivation is a very inconsistent emotion. Motivation is a very temporary emotion. Please do not use motivation to get by. Show up, love the process, and put in the work despite the lack of motivation.
Yep.
Because motivation is not going to take you for far and long. So just show up, do the work, and do it because you are investing in your own health, own fitness, own body, own everything. That's what I teach them. So yeah, no magic pills, no magic supplements. They all are expecting one, but no magic pill, no supplements here. Just long drawn good habit building process. They say
Yes.
habit can be built in 21 days. I totally disagree. I have never been able to build a habit in 21 days. It takes much longer. So
Mhm.
I would personally suggest that just begin, go through the entire journey, build good habits, and when you kind of exit the program, the idea is still to kind of use those habits for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And you would not
Yes.
require me. You don't need Kuntal. Kuntal is your coach. If after 6 months you still need Kuntal, then it was really a failure on Kuntal's part in some way.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I'm loving all this energy, and I'm feeling it through this screen because it's so amazing, and I can tell you're really passionate about helping these people and showing them right, like, good habits, and really wanting to just improve their life for the better. And I really do admire that, and it really does inspire me as well to continue striving and wanting to do better. So when someone, say me right now, a new client going into your program, obviously we don't want to give all the details because you have to go get the program. But when you go in, like, what's the what's like the first thing you like to do with a client? Like, what's the something that you would like to maybe like preface before we get into it?
Most of the times, it's generally look. I'm a nutrition coach, so I'm not like a dietitian. Like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
someone who's
Mm,
going to give you a meal plan and hey, eat this at 10 o'clock. Hey, eat this at 12 o'clock.
Oh,
Hey,
see,
eat this
see.
at one
yeah.
o'clock. And it's just I look at certain of these plans that my clients are following, and I'm like, from 6 in the morning to 11 in the night, you are spending all your time in the kitchen, getting stressed
Mm,
all day long, just trying to follow what your dietitian has said. And
Mm-hmm.
I look at this and I'm like, man, this is not happening in my program. Chuck this nonsense. Simplify
mhm,
your life. Eat according to when you want to eat.
Yep.
There's
mhm,
no right or wrong time to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Just figure out a good time to eat in your day. Get good meals, get good sleep, get good steps. Stay active, get good workouts in. So I kind of look at where their life is currently, and then slowly, piece by piece, get them on track. So most of the times it will always start with meals, because I
mm,
truly believe that a lot of the times most of my clients want to achieve fat loss,
Mm-hmm.
and
mm,
fat loss generally is kickstarted from meals or from
Kitchen.
nutrition, slowly in terms of activity, and then slowly in terms of workouts, and slowly in terms of just overall life. But initially it starts with meal and understanding what your requirements are, and understanding what healthier meals are, what balanced meals are. Most of them are just eating imbalanced meals. Most of them are just eating terrible meals. They think they are eating great
mm.
healthy food, and the moment I look at their food, I'm like, this is just not healthy. You're
Mm-hmm.
just missing
Mhm,
out on so many crucial ingredients in your diet. And so kind
mhm,
of I work with them, I coach them to kind of resolve all those issues. And then once they are good in terms of track with their diet, then I bring in the next piece, then I bring in the next piece. Slow and steady, the first few weeks we get to a reasonable point where they start seeing some progress. And I think once
mhm,
they see some progress, it's already a good enough driver for their future kind of plan. Because once you see that progress happening in yourself, you're like,
yep,
wow, whatever I'm doing is working. And then they
For
kind of
yep,
sure.
trust the process as well, because otherwise it's really harder to trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
yep, yep. That makes total sense. Yeah. Mario, do you have any more questions before we turn to our audience's questions,
I
or
do have
we're
one
everything
more
on?
question. I know that you
Perfect.
speak about trusting the process, and that makes me like I was reading one of your most recent captions on Instagram, and I took a little quote from it. You said through Everest and the journey of the last decade, I went from Kuntal 1.0 to Kuntal 2.0, and it's time to focus on building Kuntal 3.0 this decade. Like, could you give us a little bit more of a context on that? Because I know that is like an amazing mentality to have, because it's just like continuously trusting the process and working on yourself and seeing, I did this, now it's time to keep doing this and this and this.
Mhm,
Look, when I started the journey of Everest, I had no idea what was in store for me.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what's going to happen. But now, when I look back upon that Kuntal from 2009, I don't even remember who that Kuntal is.
Yeah.
I don't think
mhm,
I recognize that guy. In
Uh-huh.
some sense, if I have to hang out with that guy, I don't even think I would hang out with that guy. That's how different I am today as a human being.
Wow.
And
oh
and
wow.
I think the idea, a lot of this is just kind of inferring in hindsight, because I didn't know what I was doing when I started Everest. I'm like, it's all new for me. I'm going in
Mm,
this on this journey where I'm going outside the comfort zone in this decade long journey. Who knows what's going to happen? I didn't even know if it was going to be a decade long journey. Heck, I
Mm-hmm.
thought
mm,
I may just give up in first 6 months and just continue along the regular Kuntal 1.0 path. I didn't know
mm,
if I was going to build the Kuntal 2.0. So I think a lot of this is on hindsight, and now that I've learned that legitimately you can go from like one guy to literally the opposite guy, and it is
Yes.
possible to do it.
Yes.
Now I
yep.
know that I can even go further, and it's that once you have done it, you can do it again. And
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Wow. It's good.
I so in some sense, I'm never going to be perfect, and I know that I'm never going to be perfect, and I don't want to be perfect. But
mhm,
at the end of the day, I also want to aspire perfection, but I focus on progress. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
constant progress through the rest of the life, maybe with some aspiration of perfection, but maybe not even perfection. I think perfection is not the right word, but just progress all the time. And that progress
Mm-hmm.
could also mean that I'm failing and I'm taking a step back. That is still progress in my opinion. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people think that is, not progress. I think that is also progress in the grand scheme of things. So
Yep.
now I'm doing something different. The
Mm-hmm.
Kuntal from 1.0 to 2.0 took a certain journey, and now I'm taking a different journey and aspiration that I'll be creating that Kuntal 3.0. I don't know what that 3.0 is,
Mm-hmm.
but wherever I land up in the next 10 years, I think that will be my 3.0. My idea is the same: take risk, go outside the comfort zone, take on a lot of challenges, do things that I've always thought that I can't do, that they are really impossible for me.
Mm-hmm.
Try them, fail, try them again, just go through this process and see where I get.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes. I love
Perfect.
that. I love that. I guess
Yeah.
now we can lead on to, just some rapid fire questions from, just people that are watching. And we can end it with
Mm-hmm.
that. Harvey, does that sound good with you?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds perfect to me. So, you want me to go and start off with our
Yeah,
audience's
you
question?
can go ahead and start off, and then after yours, I'll lead into mine.
Perfect. Okay, so one of the questions we have here is what is one of the most energizing snacks that you like to take on a climb?
What is the most energizing snack? So one of the things that I take on most of my climbs, and what I do is I fill them inside my jacket pockets, is dates and dried figs. So dried dates and dried
Ooh.
Mm,
figs, these are entirely almost 100% carbs. And
mm,
anyone who wants to become an endurance athlete, carbs are your best friend. Like they
mm,
are literally your
They
number one
fuel
best
you.
friend.
Mm-hmm.
Eat everything that is carbs and you will never have to worry about running out of energy on the mountain. So what I do is
mm,
I like take ton of dates and I ensure that they are de-seeded before, because if
mm,
in minus 40 degrees you are like removing the seed of the date, best of
mm.
luck to you. You are going to be struggling big
Yeah.
time. So de-seeded dates and dried figs, or there are a lot of energy bars available in the market that are made from dried fruits,
Mm-hmm.
especially
Mm,
raisins and dates and figs and a whole bunch of these things. So maybe just taking one of those bars and just removing the outer cover and like just stuffing them in your jacket pockets, and
mm,
then so that they are just easier access if you are kind of standing on like a 60-degree wall and you are
Mm-hmm.
still
yep.
hungry and you want to get something and you just remove your jacket, you just eat it, put it back in, and you're done. You kind
Mm,
of just keep climbing. So that's one of my favorite snacks by far.
Wow.
perfect.
Awesome.
Perfect. Okay. You want me to hit him with another one, Mario, or do you
Hit
got
him
any
with
on your
another
end?
one, and then
All right. Perfect. All right, perfect. I'll just finish mine here. So another one that we got is well, earlier you said you don't really like the idea of motivation because it's a very temporary emotion. It's a base progress on motivation. It's kind of doesn't work out. But either way, the question says, how do you keep yourself motivated?
Good point. I do, so I'll repeat. I don't depend on motivation, but for me, my dreams
Good.
drive my sense of purpose every day. When I
Mm-hmm.
wake up
Mm-hmm.
every day, I don't need that motivation because my dream needs me to show up every day, needs me to train hard, needs me to be the best version of myself. And I used to be very dream and goal driven, but I think as I'm progressing in this journey, I'm realizing that there'll be times where I may just not have dreams in my life, and it is okay to
Mm-hmm.
be in that state. But then
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have dreams in life, how are you going to show up then? So I think
Mm-hmm.
now I'm kind of moving away from this mindset of having that dream, overarching dream that is kind of just driving you.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest dream of my life is now to just be the best version of myself every day, which means I no longer have this dream of, hey Kuntal, I'm climbing this mountain, hey Kuntal, I'm going to be a bodybuilder and go on stage, or hey Kuntal, I want to be a power lifter, or hey Kuntal, I want to do this crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, not doing that, not attaching those. Yes, those will still be part of my life, but when
Mm-hmm.
I wake up in the morning, I am like, by the end of this day, I want to do just one thing that is going to take me closer to becoming the best version of myself. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Oh,
And then you just
awesome.
show up, put in the effort, go and dedicate it.
Yes.
We all procrastinate, we all waste time sometimes, we all do that, we all have our phases, but through all that, remember that just even if one thing you have done that's slightly different than what you have done before, that's still adding up and compounding. And at the end of 10 years you suddenly realize, man, now I'm deadlifting 400 kilos, this is freaking insane.
Yeah, it
So
is.
kind of just that mindset of consistency every day,
Mm-hmm.
rather than, hey, every 6 months I'm going to hit a home run. Heck no, I don't want to do that. Just every day, just cross one pitch, right? Why do you want to hit a home run every 6 months?
Yeah.
Just keep doing the hard work, just that small work, and then suddenly you would have won the game, rather
Mm-hmm.
than always depending on that one lucky home run, which may not even happen.
That's very true.
Yep.
Very true.
Yeah, consistency is definitely key then. And another question here is, what are your daily practices? Like, what daily habits do you incorporate?
uh I think one of the things that I do, something that I have spoken about in past, is that there are things that I don't enjoy doing, because I'm so passion driven and so dream driven. There are things that I don't enjoy doing, and I am a big procrastinator in those areas. And so I am
Mm-hmm.
working on addressing that issue, because look, if there is this lag, let's say you are doing a chest press.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think, why do you need to work on your bicep for doing your chest press? Chest press is a compound movement, and every muscle is going to get engaged in that. Every bit
Mm-hmm.
helps in kind of pushing that weight. If there is a lagging muscle, it's going to kind of pull down on your performance. Similarly, yes, I'm great at doing all these other things, but if I'm lagging behind in finishing certain mundane tasks of my life which have to be done, like paying bills, or just showing up and work and getting whatever work done so that I can make money, and just doing a lot of those things, and having some amount of passion or having drive to finish those things, irrespective of whether you're motivated or irrespective of whether it's connected to your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Still doing those things, I am procrastinating in those things. So I am working on kind of fixing that. And for that, what I do is every morning I do create like a to-do list for myself. Because if it's just climbing Everest, I don't have to do anything. I know what the to-do list is. It's just
Yeah.
ingrained in my mind. Your body wakes up and it's like on this autopilot when it wants to climb Everest. But when that is not the case, you still need to like be able to kind of fix that lagging part in
Yeah.
your kind of overall scheme of things. So I am using smaller to-do lists to kind of just check mark through the day. Hey, I've gotten this done. Hey, I've gotten this done. Hey, I've gotten this done. I have responded to this person. I have reached out to this person. This was the bug fix that I had to make today. I have kind of taken care of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so like kind
Mm-hmm.
of at the end of the day, I look at my sheet and I'm like, great, 90% checks. So I'm improving day by day. Like I'm
Yeah.
So that is kind of one practice that I have kind of gotten into my day. And then there are certain other things that I do. I know that I need to work out. I need to stay active through the day. And I just know what I need to do in those cases. But with
Mm-hmm.
these certain, tasks where I struggle, I need to put in some structure in place and a plan in place. I think once you have that plan and structure, there is a chance that potentially you will execute on that. It
Yeah.
doesn't guarantee that you will execute, but without a plan, you are definitely not executing it. You definitely not execute. At least that's
That's
how
true.
my experience has been.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
No, I completely
And
agree. I have a
I guess
you. Oh.
yeah.
Oh. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
have one last question here.
Okay. You go
So
ahead.
this one right here is for six. No, you're good. So for success in any area, what advice do you have for those who want to achieve more?
Oh,
Um,
that's a good one.
I I think again, just banking upon my journey, I'll kind of say, find your Everest. Number one, I think without even knowing what your Everest is, what are you running after, or what are you trying to pursue, or what are you trying to climb? If you don't even know and you are clueless, so find your Everest, put a plan in place, uh, do
Find
the
your
hard work. There are no
Everest.
shortcuts to the top.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a whole bunch of challenges. There's going to be a whole bunch of adversities along the way. uh, work through them.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, don't give up, because there'll be a lot of times in this journey where mentally you will be ready to, throw in the towel, like, I'm done. This is
Yeah.
it. Let's turn around, go home. Don't give up. Believe me, two instances that are on the mountain when I have decided that I should go home and almost turned around before continuing. Actually, I was like half an hour and an hour away from the top. And I know for a fact from my journey that anytime you are very, very closer to giving up after putting in
Mm-hmm.
all the effort,
Mm-hmm.
trusting the process, doing everything, believe me, just last bit more. And if you
Mm.
don't give up, you'll get there. And
Yes.
I think at the end of the day,
Yes.
enjoying the
Think it did a little freeze.
Yeah, it's frozen.
Well, while it's frozen, I guess we can speak for a little bit. Oh, it came back now. There it is. There it is.
Can you hear us?
I don't know if you can. We can't hear you on our end. This is
Maybe
what happens,
difficulties.
guys. I hope you know we are in 3 different countries. I want you to understand that. So
Yeah.
you can cut us a little bit of
Yeah.
some slack. We are in 3 different countries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. As expected.
yeah, it's very much expected. And I guess it really did end abruptly, maybe just because of internet connection. So, I mean, I guess we can end it right now.
Mm.
Oh, there he is, actually. It's,
Yeah. Perfect. So we can get a proper outro here.
yes, yeah, perfect. Now we can. I think your mic is muted on our end. Oh, there
Can
it
you hear
is.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome, awesome.
I do have
Perfect.
some questions as well.
Sure.
Okay, I just someone asked, what is one of the hardest obstacles while climbing Everest?
Um, I think I'm going to answer this from the north side because I've climbed both south and north sides.
Oh
So I'm
wow.
going to
Mm.
take this from a north side of Everest. So north
Mhm.
side of Everest at around 28,500 feet, there's a big rock wall which is known as the second step. This is the 40 feet tall rock wall, almost like about 3 stories, and it's almost like
Wow.
90 degrees.
Wow.
And the Chinese have installed ladders, aluminum ladders on this.
Mhm.
And I still remember getting below the second step, and there were 4 people ahead of me, and they were slightly inexperienced climbers, and they took 45 minutes in minus 35 degrees cold to just cross a small 10 feet section. And I was, waiting
Wow.
behind them. My fingers were so cold, so cold. That is, one of the time, the out of the 2 times in my entire 10-year journey, that was the first time when I was ready to give up. Not because
Oh
I didn't
wow.
have the power, not because, I did not have anything, but because I had gotten so cold waiting behind someone. And I'm like, man, this is so frustrating. I should just go home from here. And
Mm.
luckily, when my turn came, I was able to not take, that much time. I was, able to
Mm.
finish that section in about
Uh-huh.
10 minutes or so. But it is a very, very tricky section, very exposed. I think if you fall off from there, they would never find your dead body ever. You would,
Oh
just
wow.
like be like, smashed to pieces if you fall from there. It would be that steep and that bad.
Wow.
And it's, I think, one of the most treacherous sections on the northern side of the mountain, and very technical, lot of traffic jams, lot of mental ball game that happens, in that area. So
Mm.
for me, I think that was a very tricky section.
Wow.
Mm.
All right. That was a really good one. I have or two more actually. Saying, so what is, do you practice any sort of mindfulness? Do you have any sort of mindfulness practice?
Do I have any sort of mindfulness? So I'm assuming this is more in respect to, maybe at least I can answer it in terms of my diet.
Hmm.
Mm.
Um, uh, in terms of mindfulness around my dreams, I'm not mindful. So I'm thinking going to, I think if we have any dreams or passions in
Mhm.
life, I don't think we should be mindful. Just go pursue them if you can. As simple
Mhm.
as that.
Mhm.
When it comes to diet, uh, again, mindfulness is not something that I practice, because you can be mindful and eat like cashews 20 times a day mindfully, and
Mhm.
still put on shit ton of weight, and
That's
kind of go away from your health and uh, fitness goals. I
mhm.
Yep.
personally believe better thing would be to look at healthier habits, and if that's what mindfulness is, so building better, healthier habits, and just understanding what you are doing and what the consequences are, and kind of just being within that framework. So that's kind of what I would say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe not the best answer, but
No, I think that
No,
was a
yeah, that
really
works.
good answer because it really
Yeah.
is that. It's really being aware of what you do daily, being aware of your actions, being aware of even the small, minuscule things. All right, the last one
Mhm.
is what is some piece of advice you would give to an upcoming mountain climber?
piece of advice, I would say, respect the mountain. Don't ever
Mhm.
overestimate your abilities.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, almost always underestimate your abilities and train harder and harder and harder. It's almost like under promise, over deliver,
Mhm.
like kind of a mindset where you are always training hard. There's always never enough training, and kind of always keeping that mindset of no shortcuts to the top, no
Mhm.
shortcuts to any place worth going on this planet. So put in that
Mhm.
hard work, put in the training time, get the experience, and slow and steady. This is not a journey of 1 2 years or 5 years. This is a journey of decades. So just
Mhm.
dig in and be ready for that. Be ready for that long drawn consistency
Yes.
and discipline battle.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome.
Perfect. Love that. That's it right there.
Yeah,
All
that pretty
righty.
much wraps it up, right? Unless
Yeah,
you
it
have
does.
anything else you want to add, Harvey?
Well, for me, that's all the questions that we have from our
Mm-hmm.
audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do love the stories that you decided to throw in there for us and take us on a part of your journey, because I know it's a lot more they have to say.
So
It's a
much.
lot more
So
to it than
much.
just those pieces.
Yeah.
And no, I genuinely love it. I'm inspired, and I'm sure our audiences as well. And
Yes.
we hope to have you on again. We really do hope to have you on again. Maybe we can
Yeah.
dive deeper into one of your stories and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with Harvey because I know so much of, you have so many stories to tell, so much more that we can get into that, we couldn't get into today in this podcast. And hopefully we are able to, on the next one, if you're willing to
Mm-hmm.
dive deeper into it. And I just want to say we do appreciate you
Mm-hmm.
being on. We do
Mm-hmm.
appreciate, the time you took out of your day to be here with us. Like we always say to everyone
Yep.
else, we appreciate you taking the time to listen, to speak, and, just educate people, because I know there's someone out there that, they stumbled upon this video and they're just the
Mm-hmm.
happiest person right now. So thank you for that.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you so much for inviting me, and pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Wraps it up, guys. Thank you.